People in the spring and then later on will see these little characters on plants a lot of times. In fact, this is on a rose, and unless you know what it is, you'll have a tendency to say, oh, that must be a pest and I think I'll spray it. Well, you're doing a lot of damage if you spray and kill that insect, because that's the larva of the lady beetle, and that's the larva of the harmonia, as a matter of fact. But all the different species, the larvae will look like that, little alligators. And they're pretty small. They're from 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 inch long, and they eat more aphids than the adults do in some cases. And a lot of times when you see aphids on plants, if you look around, you'll see these, and if you do that, you don't want to spray even the mildest of pesticides, because these guys and gals will clean up the aphid problem for you. The larvae start turning into something that looks like it came from Mars is the next step. And that means that larvae is pupating, and the pupal case then opens, and that's what the adults come out. And of course, aphids, we need to talk about specifically too. Aphids are fascinating insects. Most of you would probably have said before today, unless you've read a lot of my stuff, that aphids are a pest. I'm not sure they are, because when you have aphids on your plants, that's telling you very clearly that your plant is unhappy, is sick, is unhealthy. Something's amiss. Sometimes it can just be that the weather has changed quite a bit and it's a temporary situation. Other times it's the plant's too deep in the ground, a chronic problem. It can be that you're overwatering or underwatering. It could be that there's too much fertilizer or not enough or the wrong kind of fertilizer. High nitrogen synthetic fertilizers bring on aphids like crazy. It's one of the main reasons that I don't recommend the synthetic fertilizers. They make plants green and grow, but they create weak, watery cells in the plant. And when that happens, Mother Nature doesn't like that, sends in the cleanup crews, sends in the insects and the diseases to take the plant out. That's how it works. These are one of the many colors. Aphids come in all sizes and all colors. Some are winged and some are not. An adult aphid can give birth to live aphids without even having sex. They are very well adapted. Then you're always going to have them around. But if you have a healthy biological system, they're not going to be a big problem. This is the largest of all the aphids. This is called the giant bark aphid, and the giant bark aphid is almost as big as, or in some cases a little bit bigger than lady beetles. And you'll see lady beetles sometimes trying to attack them, and they just kind of bounce off each other because they're about the same size. We see them early in the growing season. And they'll normally be on the trunks of trees. You'll see them on red oaks quite a bit, and sometimes on live oaks, but red oaks more than anything. Generally, they're not worth even spraying for. They're not doing a lot of damage at all. This past spring, I saw more of them than I had ever seen. And I think it was because a lot of moisture, a little bit different weather conditions. The worst thing that would happen is that your car parked under a tree with these things would get some sap dripped all over the tree, and that's about the worst thing that happened. What you're looking at there is a bunch of dead aphids. You see the little trap doors and the openings in these. These are parasitized aphids. What parasitized them and killed them is a little bitty tiny wasp called a braconid wasp. Now this, unlike the trichogramma wasp, is not one that right now you can buy. I'm sure that somebody will have them on the market at some point in time. But braconid wasps, and there's a whole bunch of different kinds, different sizes and different colors. You've probably seen them in your garden quite a bit. The females land on the aphids, parasitized by laying their eggs in these aphids. The eggs hatch and feed on the aphid and kill. Those are all dead aphids. And if you had sprayed when that was just about to happen, even with an organic spray, like something I'd recommend, like a plant oil, you can foul up the whole balance of things. What we really want to get to is a position where we're not having to spray anything that kills at all. We're only spraying things that stimulate life, compost tea and seaweed and other mixtures that don't have any killing power at all.